Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are doing something a little different.
Yeah, we usually look at a specific book or research paper.
Right, or a broad concept. But today we're looking at a methodology.
Philosophy, really.
Exactly. A philosophy that is, well, it's disguised as a set of software tools. Today we are talking about friction.
Friction is the silent killer of productivity. And I don't mean that in a sort of corporate buzzword kind of way.
Right, you mean it literally.
I mean it in a physics way, yeah.
Let's set the scene for you. You're at your desk. You're completely in the zone.
Flow state.
Right. You're typing an email or maybe writing some code or drafting a report. Your fingers are just flying, moving at the speed of thought. And then
You hit a wall.
you need to bold a word or you need to open a specific file or switch windows. What happens?
The mental toggle.
The mental toggle, exactly. You have to stop typing.
Yeah.
You lift your right hand, assuming you're right-handed, off the home row of the keyboard.
You physically move it to the mouse.
You grab the mouse, you locate the cursor on the screen, which, by the way, takes a non-zero amount of visual processing.
Oh, absolutely.
You drag it over, you click, maybe you missed the tiny icon, so you have to click again. Then you navigate a menu.
There's a submenu.
Right, and this is the part I think people totally forget. You have to move your hand back to the keyboard.
You have to find the F and J keys to reorient your fingers.
And try to remember what you were actually about to type before you interrupted yourself.
It sounds so trivial when you describe it just once.
It really does. It sounds like complaining about nothing.
But if you look at human-computer interaction research
Yeah.
specifically, there's this thing called Fitts law.
Fitts law.
Yeah, the mathematical problem. Fitts law basically predicts the time required to rapidly move to a target area. And it's a function of the ratio between the distance to the target and the width of the target.
So smaller targets take longer to hit.
Exactly. When you move from the keyboard to the mouse, the distance is huge in cognitive terms.
And the target is often what? A tiny little 16-pixel icon on a busy ribbon menu?
Precisely. So you are fighting physics every single time you switch.
Yeah.
For a standard user, this is just annoying. It's a micro interruption that breaks that flow state we talked about.
But for the sort of learner profile that we often talk about on this show?
Someone who is obsessed with efficiency.
Right. For you, it's a leaky pipe,
That's a great way to put it. You're leaking seconds every minute.
which adds up to hours every week,
But there's a much deeper layer to this.
right? Because for you and me, the mouse is annoying. But for a huge segment of the population, the mouse isn't just inefficient.
It's a wall. It's a complete barrier.
We need to talk about the blind and visually impaired community here.
Yeah, the VS community. So for a sighted user, the computer screen is basically a 2D map.
You can just scan it with your eyes.
Exactly. You can see the file menu in the top left and the clock in the bottom right simultaneously. You process it all at once.
But for a user relying on a screen reader,
Like JWS or NVDA or Microsoft Narrator.
right, for them, the screen is not a map,
It's a stream
of text.
a linear stream of information.
Yeah.
The screen reader only reads what is currently in focus.
So it's one thing at a time.
One thing at a time. If you are using a mouse as a blind user, you are essentially poking at a silent, flat piece of glass with a plastic puck.
Hoping you'll land on something that makes the computer speak to you.
Right. It's incredibly inefficient. So for a blind user, the keyboard isn't just some power user preference.
It's the only way.
It is the only viable interface for navigation.
And this is exactly where that friction becomes a massive barrier to entry. Because to use a computer exclusively via the keyboard, what do you actually need?
You need to memorize the map.
You need to know all the shortcuts.
All of them. You need to know that Alt plus F opens the file menu.
But Control plus O opens the open dialog.
And Windows plus E opens the File Explorer.
And that's just the Windows desktop.
Exactly. Then you open Word and the commands change. You open Chrome and they change again.
It's pure rote memorization.
It's like trying to learn a language by reading the dictionary before you're allowed to speak a single sentence.
Wow, yeah. And that is exactly the problem we are diving into today.
The mission of this deep dive.
Yes. We are looking at a suite of tools from a group called iTech Analytics,
They've released a trio of utilities.
designed explicitly to bridge this exact gap. The tools are called Beacon, Keyfinder, and Wayfinder menu.
And their claim is pretty bold.
It is. They claim to solve the recall problem, which is remembering the shortcuts, and the navigation problem, which is getting around the OS.
And doing all of that without ever touching a mouse.
Never touching it. And while these are heavily pitched as accessibility tools looking through the documentation, my read is that these are productivity accelerators for absolutely everyone.
I completely agree.
Before we get into the specific tools, and we're going to walk through all three of them in detail for you, we really need to talk about the engine running under the hood.
Oh yeah, the tech stack.
Because when I saw what these were built on, I actually laughed.
In a good way, I hope?
In a good way. But I saw the file extension, .ahk.
Auto hotkey.
Right. Now, I haven't touched AutoHotkey since maybe 2010.
A lot of people haven't.
I remember it being this sort of Wild West scripting language. People wrote scripts to cheat in video games or spam key presses in World of Warcraft.
Definitely has a reputation for that.
Right.
AutoHotkey is an open source scripting language for Windows. It's been around for decades.
And it started out very loose.
Very loose. But the version these tools use is extremely important. The documentation is specific. These are built on AutoHotkey v2.
Version 2. Now, why does the version matter so much? Is it just a newer is better kind of thing?
No, it's a newer is incompatible kind of thing.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. AutoHotkey v1 was, let's call it forgiving.
Forgiving how?
You could write incredibly messy code and it would mostly just work. Variable names were weird. The syntax was totally inconsistent.
So it's easy for amateurs to just hack things together.
Exactly. Great for non-programmers, but an absolute nightmare to maintain if you're building actual software.
I see.
AutoHotkey v2 is a complete ground-up rewrite. It forces proper syntax. It uses actual objects. It handles errors much more strictly.
So it's a much more professional language now.
It's way more stable.
Yeah.
But it means that if you have an old script from 5 years ago, it will not run on the v2 engine.
And Beacon, Keyfinder, and Wayfinder are all native v2 apps.
Yes, they are.
Now, I can hear some of our listeners tuning out right now. They're thinking, scripting language. I'm not a coder. I don't want to learn syntax.
And that is the really clever part of the distribution model here. iTech Analytics offers 2 ways to get these tools.
Okay.
First, yes, you can download the raw source code.
Yeah.
The .ahk files.
Which is great if you want to tinker.
Or if you're security conscious.
Yeah.
You can open those files in a standard notepad and see exactly every single line of code.
There's no black box.
Some black box. You know it's not stealing your passwords because you can read the code yourself.
Which is huge for privacy.
It's massive.
Yeah.
But for the average learner who just wants the tool to work, they offer compiled executables.
Ah, so .exe files.
Exactly. They've taken that script and wrapped it up into a standard Windows executable file.
So you don't even need to install AutoHotkey at all.
Nope. You don't need to know what a variable is. You just double-click beacon.xx and it runs.
That lowers the barrier to entry to basically 0.
It runs perfectly like any other portable app.
You could just throw it on a thumb drive.
You absolutely could. And because it's portable, you don't need administrator rights to install it.
Oh, wow. So if you're at a corporate job with a completely locked down laptop,
You can often still run these purely from your user documents folder.
that is a very sneaky productivity tip right there.
It's very handy.
Okay, so we have the engine sorted out. Now let's talk about the design philosophy. Because looking at the screenshots in the source material, these do not look like modern flashy apps.
They do not. There are no drop shadows, no slick gradients.
They look very functional.
Functional is the perfect word. And that is entirely by design.
Yeah.
Their philosophy is accessibility first.
Which means what in practice?
A few critical things. First, high contrast. If you switch your Windows theme to high contrast black because you have light sensitivity,
Which a lot of people do.
these tools instantly detect that OS level change and switch their color palette to match.
Which, let's be honest, most modern Electron-based apps fail to do miserably.
They break entirely. The text becomes invisible or the buttons disappear. These tools adapt natively.
And the second thing.
They use standard Windows controls.
Meaning?
This gets a little technical, but it's important. They don't draw fake buttons on the screen using custom graphics.
Okay.
They use the actual standard Windows API to generate a button.
Why does that matter to the user?
Because it means a screen reader, like JAWS, knows exactly what it is. It knows it's a button. It knows its name. It knows if it's currently pressed or unpressed.
It plays by the rules of the operating system.
It plays by the rules so that the assistive technology can actually do its job.
That makes perfect sense. All right, let's get into the meat of it. The first tool in the suite, Beacon.
The Universal Reference Library.
I really love the name Beacon. It implies this sort of light in the dark when you're lost, and the documentation calls it the ultimate cheat sheet.
So let's go back to that friction moment we talked about earlier.
Okay.
You are in Excel. You know there is a way to freeze the top row. You have definitely done it before.
But you can't remember if it's Alt-WFR or Alt-VF.
Right. So normally you grab the mouse, you click the View tab, you squint at the ribbon trying to find the right little snowflake icon.
Or worse, you Alt-Tab over to Chrome. You
Huh?
type Excel freeze top row shortcut into Google.
You wait for the page to load, you click Accept on the cookies pop-up, you scroll past 3 paragraphs of SEO filler,
You finally find the answer.
you Alt-Tab back to Excel.
And you've completely forgotten what cell you were even working on.
You have entirely lost the context of your work.
It's devastating for focus.
Beacon solves this by bringing the library directly to you. You press a single hotkey, and a menu appears instantly hovering right over your work.
You find the answer, you press enter, and the menu just disappears.
You never leave the app you're working in.
Let's talk about that hotkey, though, because it's a really weird one.
It is unusual.
It's backtick +1.
Yeah.
I will be completely honest with you. I had to look down at my keyboard to confirm where the backtick actually was.
Most people do. It's that key
That-
all the way in the top left corner
Usually right under the escape key.
and to the left of the number 1 key. It's the key that shares space with the tilde, that little squiggly line.
Why choose that key? Why not just use Control or Alt like every other app?
Because Control and Alt are already used for everything else.
That's true.
If they chose Control +1, that would immediately conflict with format cells in Excel.
Or it goes to the first tab in your web browser.
Exactly. The backtick is almost never used as a modifier key in standard Windows workflows.
It's safe real estate.
Unused real estate, yeah.
So you hold down the backtick just like you would hold down a shift key, and you press the number 1.
And Beacon pops up.
Describe the interface to me. What does it actually look like?
It is incredibly minimalist. It's just a vertical list of categories right in the center of your screen.
Like what kind of categories?
Microsoft Office, browsers, system tools, multimedia.
Okay.
You just use the up and down arrow keys to move through the list. You press the right arrow or enter to dive into a category, and you press left arrow or escape to go back.
Is there no mouse support at all?
I mean, you can click the items if you really, really want to.
But it defeats the purpose.
Exactly. The entire interface is designed to be driven rapidly by the arrow keys. It is just so much faster.
I was digging through the content list in the source code. There's a specific file called content.ahk,
The library file.
a library file, and it is immense. We're not just talking about Control-C to copy and Control-V to paste here.
No, it's a deeply curated library. It covers all the big ones, obviously. Word, Excel, PowerPoint.
But I noticed a really smart distinction they made in the Office section.
Yes, they have entirely separate sections for desktop Word and Office 365 Word.
Meaning the web browser version, because the shortcuts are different.
Drastically different. In the desktop app, pressing the Alt keys activates the ribbon at the top.
But in the browser,
In the browser, Alt keys often interfere with the browser's own native menu system.
mixing those up is a massive source of frustration for people moving their workflows to the cloud.
Beacon separates them completely so you always know you're looking at the right context.
And it covers tools that I honestly wouldn't expect in a general productivity utility, like Reaper.
Ah, yes, Reaper. That is a very specific nod to the blind community.
For those who don't know, Reaper is a digital audio workstation, a DAW.
Used for recording music and editing podcasts. And it is famously customizable and famously accessible. A huge percentage of blind audio engineers use Reaper.
So putting that specifically into Beacon shows the developers really know who their core audience is.
They absolutely do.
But the section of the library that really stopped me in my tracks was the accessibility folder itself.
Yeah, this is sort of the meta documentation.
It lists the actual commands for GWS, NVDA, Narrator, and Windows Magnifier.
Think about the tragic irony of learning to use a screen reader for the first time.
Okay.
You turn it on, it starts talking to you.
And you don't know how to make it stop.
You don't know the key to pause speech. You don't know how to make it read the next line. You want to read the user manual.
But you need the screen reader to read the manual to you.
Exactly. It's a paradox. You are stuck in a loop.
Beacon breaks that loop.
Right. It provides a static, incredibly easy to navigate text list of those foundational commands.
So if you get stuck in JWS and you don't know how to switch out of virtual cursor mode,
You just pop up Beacon, which JWS can read perfectly. And you look up the command. It's a built-in safety net.
you just mentioned JWS can read it perfectly. Let's get a little technical for a second here.
Sure.
The developer notes mention that they use read-only edit fields to display the text. To a layperson, that sounds as complete gibberish.
It does sound like jargon.
Why is that specific term important?
Okay, we have to talk about something called the accessibility tree.
The accessibility tree.
When a screen reader looks at a software program, it doesn't see pixels and colors.
Right.
It sees a hierarchical tree of objects.
Oh.
It sees window, then inside that a panel, then inside that text. If a developer just slaps text onto a screen as a basic label.
Which is how most text is displayed.
Right. Many screen readers will just read that entire block of text all at once. Or worse, they might skip it entirely.
Because it's passive.
It's completely passive. But an edit field, like a text box you would normally type your name into, is active.
Okay.
Screen readers are specifically designed to let users navigate inside an edit field, character by character, word by word, line by line.
So by forcing the text to display in a read-only edit field, they are tricking the system.
I wouldn't say tricking. They are leveraging the system. They are deliberately using the one UI control that gives the user the absolute maximum power to navigate the text.
That's brilliant.
They made it read-only so you don't accidentally delete the instructions while you're reading them.
But they kept it as an edit field so you can use your cursor keys to read it at your own pace.
Exactly. It's a very subtle design choice. But it proves beyond a doubt that they tested this software with actual screen reader users.
It's the difference between looking at a poster on the wall from across the room and holding a book in your hands that you can turn the pages of.
That is a perfect analogy, yes.
So Beacon is the library. It's static, it's safe, it is always there when you forget something.
But what if you need to know something that isn't in that pre-written library?
Or what if you need to know what's happening right now on your screen?
That brings us to the second tool in the suite, Keyfinder.
Activated by Backtick Plus 2.
Yes. If Beacon is a reference library, Keyfinder is a private detective.
A private detective, I like that.
And this detective has a database.
A local database, right?
Yes. It uses Swelly. The file is called apinfo.db.
And it just lives in your documents folder.
Right there on your hard drive.
Why does that matter? Why not just connect to the cloud and pull down the latest shortcuts from a server?
2 reasons. Speed and privacy.
Okay, let's start with speed.
We are talking about workflow milliseconds here. If you press a hotkey to find a shortcut, you want the answer right now.
You don't want to wait for a loading spinner.
You don't want to wait for an API call to bounce to an Amazon server in Virginia and back.
Right.
And then there's privacy.
This is a big one.
This tool essentially monitors your active window to know what you're doing.
You do not want a background utility sending a log of your active windows to a third-party server.
Absolutely not.
Uh-huh.
By keeping the database local, SQLite is literally just a single file on your disk. Your data never leaves your machine.
Okay, so let's walk through what the documentation calls the magic trick feature of Keyfinder. Contextual capture.
Imagine you are working in Microsoft Word again.
Okay.
You want to know the shortcuts for Word. In Beacon, the first tool, you'd have to open the menu, find Office, navigate to Word, and press Enter.
Which is pretty fast, but it's still a few steps. It's friction.
In Keyfinder, you just press Backtick Plus 2.
And what actually happens?
The switch wakes up. It looks at the operating system and asks, what is the active window right now?
And it sees winward.exe.
Exactly. Then, and this is the really clever part, I mean, it very quickly hides its own interface window.
Why does it need to hide?
It's the observer effect.
Oh.
Think about it. If Keyfinder pops open, suddenly Keyfinder is the active window.
So if it asks Windows what the active window is, the answer would just be Keyfinder.
It would be looking in a mirror.
Right.
So it ducks out of the way for a split second, checks what was behind it, which was Word queries, its internal database for any shortcuts tagged with winword.exe, and then pops back up.
With a perfectly filtered list.
Here are your Word shortcuts instantly.
That does feel like magic. It's totally context aware.
It removes the cognitive load of having to tell the computer what you were doing. The computer should already know what you are doing.
Now, there is another mode in Keyfinder that I think might be even more valuable for you, the learner. Reverse search.
Yes.
This is mapped to Backtick Plus 3.
I call this the disaster prevention mode.
Disaster prevention. Explain that.
How many times have you been in a brand new piece of software and you instinctively press Control plus D?
Thinking it will duplicate something.
Right. Because in a lot of apps, it means duplicate. But in this new app, it actually means delete.
Oh, no. Or you press Control plus Shift plus E thinking it means export, but it actually erases everything.
Exactly. Standard shortcuts aren't always standard.
So reverse search fixes this.
It lets you check before you click. You press backtick +3, a little dialog box appears and just says press a key combination.
So you press Control plus D.
Right. And then Keyfinder scans that local SQLite database across all applications.
And it gives you a report.
It returns a list that says, okay, in Chrome, this keystroke bookmarks the page. In Excel, it fills down. In Photoshop, it deselects your current layer.
So it builds a comprehensive map of that specific keystroke across your entire ecosystem.
It really helps you build a solid mental model. You start to learn, okay, Control plus D usually deals with duplication or selection, except when I'm in a web browser.
It turns a specific, isolated data point into general computing knowledge.
It does.
But the database isn't just what came installed out of the box, right? You can actually add to it.
And this is exactly where Keyfinder transitions from being just a reference tool into being a true second brain. You can add your own custom entries.
Why would I want to spend time doing that?
Two main reasons. First, custom software.
Like enterprise apps.
Yeah, maybe your company uses some proprietary inventory system that iTech Analytics has obviously never heard of. You can document all those shortcuts yourself.
And the second reason?
The description field.
Talk to me about the description field.
Most shortcut lists are incredibly terse. They just say Control-S save.
That's it.
But in Keyfinder, you can write literally whatever you want in the description box.
So you can add context.
You can write Control-S, save the file. Warning. This takes a long time to sync to the network drive. Do not close the window until the little spinner stops.
You are adding institutional knowledge to the shortcut.
You're documenting the gotchas, the things that normally trip people up.
And for accessibility, this must be critical.
Oh, it's a game changer. You can write an entry that says, press Alt plus F to open the menu. Note, JAWS will not announce this menu automatically when it opens. You have to press the down arrow to force it to speak.
That is invaluable. You are documenting the actual behavior of the software, not just the command itself.
Exactly, and because you can export this data.
Yes, let's talk about exporting. Walk me through the trainer scenario from the documentation.
Imagine you are an IT trainer, or maybe an accessibility specialist at a company.
Okay.
You are onboarding a new employee, let's call him Bob.
Hey, Bob.
Bob is visually impaired, and he's starting a job in customer service where he has to use Outlook and Salesforce all day. You, as the trainer, can spend an hour in your own copy of Keyfinder. You create a tailored list of the 20 absolute essential shortcuts for Salesforce.
The ones he actually needs to do the job.
Right. You add very detailed notes in the description field about how those specific shortcuts interact with his specific screen reader.
And then?
Then you hit Export to HTML.
So it spits out a file.
It generates a clean, completely searchable, highly accessible web page. You email that single HTML file to Bob.
Bob saves it to his desktop.
And now Bob has a completely custom-tailored user manual for his specific job role, written in plain English that he understands.
He doesn't even need Keyfinder installed to read it.
Nope, it's just a web page. But Keyfinder was the authoring tool that allows you to create it so easily.
That really empowers Bob. It doesn't just help him on day one, it gives him a permanent resource he can keep referring back to.
It completely solves the training decay problem.
Training decay.
People generally forget 90% of what they learn in a corporate training session within a week. This gives them a reference guide they can trust.
So Keyfinder is the dynamic detective, and it's the authoring tool.
Yes.
But we still have one major problem remaining. We are really great at being inside applications now. We can find the shortcuts for Word. We can document Salesforce.
Right.
But how do I actually get from Word over to Salesforce?
Or how do I find that one specific spreadsheet buried in Z Drive, Shared, Departments, Finance, 2024 Q1 reports?
The navigation problem.
This is exactly where the third tool, Wayfinder menu, comes in.
Activated by Windows key plus space.
WinSpace. It's a huge, incredibly easy target to hit.
You can just mash it with your thumb in the palm of your hand without even looking.
Exactly.
Wait, though, doesn't Windows normally use WinSpace for switching keyboard languages?
It does. If you have multiple keyboard layouts installed, like if you type in English and Spanish, WinSpace is the default OS toggle for that.
Okay.
So the documentation explicitly notes that you might want to change the Wayfinder hotkey in the settings if you are multilingual.
Good to know.
But for the vast majority of standard US English users, that shortcut is literally just sitting there doing absolutely nothing.
So you hit WinSpace, what happens?
A menu pops up near the system tray. usually in the bottom right corner of your screen, though you can configure it to appear wherever you want.
And it just looks like a standard Windows right-click context menu.
Exactly. It's a launcher.
But it's not like the Windows Start menu.
Not at all. The Windows Start menu is full of noise. It's got news, weather widgets, suggested apps you don't want.
Candy Crush.
Exactly. Wayfinder starts completely empty. It is your menu. You build it.
So what can I actually put in it?
5 main types of items. Files, folders, websites, notes, and email templates.
Let's do a day-in-the-life scenario with Wayfinder to really see how this works in practice.
Okay, I love this. You sit down at your desk in the morning. You hit WinSpace.
Okay.
You have created a category folder called Morning Routine. You arrow down to it and hit Enter.
And what does it do?
It instantly opens 3 websites at once. Your email inbox, your team calendar, and your project management dashboard.
Boom. No opening the browser and clicking 3 different bookmarks.
You're just ready to work.
Okay, so I start working. I need to file a report. And it goes into that ridiculously deep folder path you mentioned earlier.
Right. Instead of opening File Explorer and clicking through 6 different nested folders,
It takes forever.
you hit WinSpace, arrow down to Q1 Reports, and hit Enter. The folder opens instantly.
Friction reduced again.
Now you need to send your weekly update email to your boss, and this is what I consider the killer feature of Wayfinder.
The email shortcut,
Yes, in Wayfinder, you could set up an item with a mail to action.
which usually just opens a blank email.
Usually, yes. But in Wayfinder, you can pre-fill the parameters, the recipient, the subject line, and the body text.
So I can have a menu item that literally just says, send weekly update.
You click it, and your default email app, whether that's Outlook or Thunderbird or whatever, opens a brand new draft window.
And it's already filled out.
The to field says boss@company.com. The subject says weekly update. The body says, hi, here is the update for this week. Please see attached.
Everything's just typed out for you.
It's all there. You just drag your PDF into the window and hit send.
That saves, what, maybe 2 minutes of typing?
It saves 2 minutes of physical typing, sure. But more importantly, it saves 2 minutes of the mental toggle.
Right.
You didn't have to break your focus to think, wait, what is the boss's exact email address again? You didn't have to worry about a typo in the subject line.
It totally automates the administrative fluff of your job.
Exactly.
And then there's auto strings. This is a text expander built right into the tool.
Yes, it is.
Explain how that works.
You define a trigger code, something short like OMW, and you define the expansion phrase, on my way, exclamation point.
Okay.
Now, whenever you type OMW, followed by a space or a punctuation mark,
It magically replaces it with the full phrase.
instantly.
Does that work everywhere in Windows?
Everywhere.
Yeah.
It works in Microsoft Word, it works in Slack, in your web browser, in standard Notepad. It essentially hooks into the keyboard driver itself.
That is a very classic productivity hack. But usually you have to go out and buy standalone software like Text Expander to get that functionality.
Here, it's just included as part of the ecosystem.
Now, Wayfinder has one more trick up its sleeve, and I think this is fascinating. Context categories.
This is undoubtedly the smartest layer of the tool. Just like Keyfinder knows what application you are currently using, Wayfinder knows too.
Give me a practical example of that.
Let's say you are a web developer.
Okay.
You are in Visual Studio Code writing some software. You hit WinSpace. Wayfinder checks the active window and sees you are coding.
So it adapts.
Right. At the very top of your Wayfinder menu, it dynamically inserts a Developer Tools category.
That wasn't there before.
Right. And inside that category are links to your GitHub repositories, Stack Overflow, your local test server, maybe a hex color picker tool.
That is highly useful.
Now you Alt-Tab over to Spotify because you want to change the music you're listening to.
Okay.
You hit WinSpace again. That Developer Tools category is completely gone.
It just disappears.
Instead, you might see an Audio Controls category. Or maybe nothing extra at all, just your default menu.
It declutters the interface based entirely on your current context.
It constantly adapts the tool to the specific task at hand. If you are in Chrome, maybe it shows you your work marks.
And it even detects specific browser domains, right?
Yes. You can have a category that only appears when your browser is specifically on the Google Docs website.
That is incredibly granular control.
It is. It allows you to build a personal workflow that feels like the computer is literally reading your mind.
Oh, you're on YouTube. Here are the quick links to your Creator Analytics page.
Exactly.
I want to touch on one very specific accessibility feature in Wayfinder regarding the setup process, the reordering system.
Yes, the edit menu interface.
In almost every launcher or menu builder out there, to move items around you, just drag and drop.
You click an item, You hold the mouse button down, you drag it up the list, and you let go.
Which is a complete nightmare for a screen reader user.
It is essentially impossible.
Yeah.
You cannot easily drag and drop using only a keyboard.
So what did iTech Analytics do?
They included specific move up and move down buttons directly in the edit interface.
You just tab over to the button and hit enter to move the item.
Exactly. It sounds so ridiculously simple.
It does.
But it's an accessibility consideration that 99% of software developers completely miss.
Because they love drag and drop.
They love it because it looks cool and feels modern. iTech Analytics included plain old buttons because buttons actually work for everyone.
So we have this trinity of tools. Beacon for when you don't know what to do and need to look it up. Keyfinder for when you want to learn, discover, or troubleshoot.
And Wayfinder for when you already know exactly what you want and you just want to execute it as fast as possible.
It's a complete loop. Reference, discovery, execution. I want to zoom out a bit now. We've been really deep in the weeds of shortcuts and databases and menus.
It's a lot of tech.
Let's talk about the broader impact. You mentioned the curb cut effect at the very top of the show.
The curb cut effect is a foundational phenomenon in design theory.
Explain the history of that for the listener.
So in the 1970s in the U.S., disability advocates fought incredibly hard for curb cuts.
Those are the little concrete ramps carved into the sidewalk at street intersections.
Right. They were designed and mandated specifically for wheelchair users, because without them, a wheelchair user literally could not get onto the sidewalk.
It was a pure accessibility accommodation for a specific minority.
Exactly. But once cities actually started installing them everywhere, urban planners noticed something really interesting.
Other people were using them.
Everyone was using them. Parents pushing baby strollers used them. Delivery workers with heavy hand trucks used them.
Travelers dragging wheeled suitcases.
Even kids on skateboards.
They made the sidewalk fundamentally better for the general public.
Right. An accommodation designed specifically to solve a disability barrier ended up universally benefiting the entire population.
How does that historical concept apply to what we're looking at today with this software?
These tools, Beacon, Keyfinder, Wayfinder, were explicitly designed to solve problems for the blind.
Right.
That is why they are entirely keyboard-driven. That is why they support high-contrast themes natively. That is why they use simple text menus instead of complex graphical ribbons. But because of those extremely strict design constraints, they are incredibly fast.
They shed all the dead weight.
Exactly. Sighted users are constantly bogged down by sluggish animations, mouse travel time, and visual clutter on the screen.
You just accept it as normal.
By stripping all of that away to make the interface accessible for a screen reader, iTech Analytics accidentally created the ultimate power user interface for a sighted person.
So if you are listening to this and you are a perfectly sighted user with no physical motor impairments whatsoever, you should still use this suite.
Absolutely you should. Think about RSI, repetitive strain injury, carpal tunnel syndrome.
A lot of office workers deal with that.
Those injuries are heavily exacerbated by the constant micro movements of reaching for the mouse and clicking. Keeping your hands resting naturally on the keyboard is ergonomically superior.
And what about that dark mode sync we talked about?
That's about eye strain. We all stare at glowing rectangles for 10 hours a day.
We really do.
Having a tool that perfectly respects your system theme and doesn't suddenly flash a blindingly bright white dialog box in your face when you're working late at night.
That is a massive quality of life feature for literally everyone.
It really challenges the traditional way the tech industry thinks about software design.
The usual approach is make it pretty first, get the venture capital, and then maybe bolt on accessibility later if you have time.
Which is exactly why so much modern enterprise software is terrible to use.
Yeah.
If you start with accessibility, if your foundational rule is make it clear, make it navigable by keyboard alone, make it high contrast, you build a rock-solid foundation.
You can always make it pretty later.
Right. But the core utility has to be undeniable first.
So let's wrap this up with some practical advice for you listening at home.
Okay.
You're motivated, you want to try this out, but you're feeling a little overwhelmed. 3 different tools, local databases, email parameter templates. Where does someone actually start?
Start with Beacon. Just Beacon.
Tool number 1.
Because it requires absolutely zero setup. You just download the executable and run it.
And then what?
The very next time you are in Word or Excel and you instinctively reach your hand out for the mouse to bold some text or freeze a row.
Stop yourself.
Physically.
Stop.
Leave your hands on the keyboard, press backtick +1, look up the command in the menu.
Force yourself to do it the new way just once.
Just once. Build that initial muscle memory. The dopamine hit you get from staying on the keyboard, executing the command, and not breaking your flow state, it will completely convince you.
And what about Keyfinder? How do you ease into that?
Use the capture mode, backtick +2. Just play around with it like a toy at first.
So just open a random app and see what happens.
Yeah, open Spotify. Hit capture. See what hidden shortcuts pop up that you never even knew existed.
It's a game of discovery.
Exactly. Don't treat it like homework.
And finally, Wayfinder menu. The big one.
Pick one annoyance in your day. Just one single friction point.
Like that folder buried deep on the server.
Yes. Or that one specific analytics dashboard website you have to check every single morning. Add that one item to Wayfinder.
Don't try to rebuild your entire start menu on day one.
Do not boil the ocean.
Yeah.
Just fix the one leak that's bothering you the most today.
I really like that approach. Just fix the leak.
You'll naturally add more items as you get comfortable.
Before we go, I have to ask you something. If these tools are so undeniably good, and this keyboard-first philosophy is so mathematically sound in terms of efficiency,
Yeah.
why isn't this just built into Windows or Mac OS?
That is the really provocative question, isn't it?
I mean, Windows has the start menu search, but it's incredibly slow, and it constantly tries to search Bing for web results instead of my files.
Right.
And Mac OS has Spotlight, which is arguably much better, but it doesn't have the context awareness or the deep shortcut library of Keyfinder.
I think we are currently stuck in a weird era of computing.
How so?
Operating system developers prioritize ease of use over efficiency of use.
Define the difference there.
Ease of use means discoverability for total novices. It means big, colorful icons. It means intuitive touch targets.
Things that look good in an Apple Store showroom.
Exactly. Icons sell computers. Efficiency of use means speed for experts. And shortcuts and text menus do not look sexy on a billboard.
So accessibility, and by extension, true mastery of the machine, is just left to third-party developers.
And the open source community. For now, at least.
Hmm.
There are other tools trying to bridge this gap, like Raycast on the Mac or PowerToys on Windows.
But nothing that goes this deep into the screen reader compatibility.
Nothing I've seen tackles the specific nuances of the accessibility tree quite like this iTech Analytics suite.
It's a very unique niche. Well, this has been a truly fascinating look at how we actually interact with our machines.
It really makes you think.
It's not just about what the computer is capable of doing, it's about how we literally communicate our intentions to it.
And how much human energy we waste in the translation process.
To our listeners, think about this as we sign off. What if the graphical user interface, the GUI, with its windows and mouse pointers, which we all consider the greatest leap in computing history, what if it was actually a detour?
Oh, that's an interesting thought.
What if the most advanced, high-performance future of computing isn't virtual desks and dragging files around, but a return to something that looks a lot more like a command line, driven by natural language, intent, and pure keyboard execution?
Full circle back to the terminal. I love it.
The tools are completely free. The link to the developer's site is in the show notes. Go download the compiled versions if you aren't a coder.
Give your mouse a break today.
Your wrists will thank you.
And your brain will thank you.
Thanks for exploring this deep dive with us. We will see you next time.